This is Friday morning, the 2nd of September, 2022. And I've got my camera set up and audio set up. And the reason I'm doing this is this little spiel this morning is going to be about the risk that my property and I have to absorb day in and day out from this golf course management group. Okay? What you're looking at on the camera right now, on busy days in the summer, or in the winter, on busy days, there could be as many as, 10 carts, 12 carts sitting there waiting to hit. And a lot of personnel right in that immediate area. And the reason all those people are in that area and all those carts are in that area is because the tee boxes are pulled all the way back and pushed to the right. If you look at that green box, that's the limit. Now, as far as I'm concerned, this is the KKK burning a cross in my yard. They've been able to get away with burning a cross in my yard, nailing me to the cross, putting handcuffs on me, whatever you want to call it, but I don't have the freedom to use this yard, okay? If I have any kind of a social event out here, or if I have children out here who want to sit and look at nature and the lake or want to play out here, I don't dare leave them on a busy day because of where those tee boxes are right now. You have dialed up for me maximum, the maximum. Are there any insurance underwriters out there? Anybody that would have to use statistical analysis, the bell-shaped curve, somebody that their job is to try to predict emergency situations, their job is to try to predict to the almost to the number. You get a good underwriter, and if he was to come out here for a year and study the demographics of the people who play this course, first of all, what makes you a golfer on Sundance Golf course? Either your credit card or cash. As soon as the transaction takes place where you paid your greens fees, no matter whether you've ever touched the golf club or taken a lesson or anything, any schooling, any instruction, anything on how to keep score, the rules of the road, what do you do on a golf course? Some of these people have no clue. I'm a golfer because I just paid the greens fees. Now I'm a golfer. And I will be the first to admit I was one of those golfers that was too embarrassed to play anything but the gold tees. I always played the men's tees. I'm a man. I'm a golfer. I felt the same way. As soon as I give you that money, I'm a golfer. Okay? And that's what's happening here. I hope you understand. I'm trying to get across. That tee box is empty right now, but that tee box is as far right and as far back as you can put it. As far as risk management, it's almost like you intentionally said dial up the risk on those houses up there on the right. Okay? What makes it especially dangerous for me and my friends and my family and anybody who comes to visit me is I can't enjoy my yard. I'm only about 40 yards from that tee box where my land starts, and I'm just offline. If we were on an old-time golf course that wasn't patio golf, where they took and they ran the fairways next to each other going the opposite way, if I was in the fairway right now getting ready to hit and somebody was down there, I'd holler to them to let them know I'm going to hit. And if they were really good golfers, before they hit from down there and they saw me up here, they would say, hey, keep your heads up, I'm going to hit. That don't happen here. This is a planned event. That balls in my yard, day in and day out, I'm getting them from everywhere. I get them from the long monster tee, that aircraft carrier you built about 3 years after you opened the place. And I'm going to use a Vietnam term because I'm a Vietnam era veteran. I never went to Vietnam, but I was in 4 years, and here's a term, FNG, okay? When I talk about these new golfers, they're FNGs. Anybody that's a Vietnam veteran will understand. But I'm going to make the analogy that this is like Conti-N here, okay? Anybody has a problem with this little berm that I built up here, the reason I built this berm is it's a redoubt. It's what do you want to call it, a bunker? It keeps people off my lot. Before this was here, before I elevated this little sitting area, I had people walking in my yard all day long. Now, I've got the camera running, I'm talking, and if it was a busy day during the season where you're selling 200, 250 rounds, you would have every spectrum of golfer, from the good one to the bad one, from the beginner to the pro, okay, and everything in between. Now, as a responsible adult pro, please understand, and the people who run the HOA, the board of directors, the manager, please understand. Every house is an individual difference as it relates to this golf course. The houses across the lake are getting hit all the time. If I put an audio device out here on my roof, it would hear probably 10 or 12 times a day a boom. That'd be a golfer hitting a house from the 7th tee box, okay? And I used to put cameras out here all the time, but we don't have the frequency. It'll run all day, maybe only get a few people. But during the season, the place fills up. Now, they've made the hole more difficult today. They moved it all the way back, and then they moved the pin back. So they probably got about 150 yards shot now to hit the pin, or 155. They made it harder. I have tried to tell in other videos and other spiels, and I'm going to go into it right now. You think I'm jumping around, but I'm going to try to make the point. There's a term in baseball, and it affects how pitchers select who they want to play for. It's called a hitter's ballpark. Anybody know what a hitter's ballpark is? And a pitcher's ballpark. A pitcher's ballpark would be like the original ballpark that the Dodgers played in LA. They played in the LA Coliseum, and they had a huge amount of room on each side of first and third, and a lot of room behind the catcher. So, if you were a pitcher, and somebody was hitting, they couldn't get away with swinging it and hitting garbage shots, okay? Because the fielder, all the fielders had a lot of room. Anything that was a foul ball, they had plenty of room to catch it and call the guy out. So pitchers love ballparks like this. So the pitcher's going to pick a park, and half of his games are going to be played in the park, his home park. He's hoping his home park is a pitcher's park. Okay? Now, with like Ebbets Field, the Dodgers, was the opposite. It wasn't a pitcher's ballpark, okay? Because a pitcher could never get a foul ball out. There was no room to make an out on a foul ball, all right? The stands came right up to the first and third line. Okay? It wasn't a pitcher's ballpark. It was a hitter's ballpark, because a hitter could hit a foul ball and know that probably 3/4 of the foul balls that were hit in Ebbets Field were unplayable. They couldn't get to them. The stands were too close. Well, that's the analogy I'm going to try to make now. I got a white stake on my property line, on both sides of my property line, that says that they can play right up to my property anytime they want. They've doubled the size of this hole. They made it user friendly. Everything from the cart path north of the hole is free territory. Okay? Now, if you would take these white stakes and put them down on the crest of the hill about 20 feet from my property line or 30 feet from my property line, it would shrink this hole. But when somebody, a young kid, a newbie, an FNG with his brand new driver, all right, or his brand new set of clubs, never taken a lesson in his life, he's the strongest kid on the football team, okay, can press probably his own weight and more. When he catches one, it really goes. If he makes impact with his strength and his speed and everything else he has, the ball's going to take off like a missile, very far. But usually, and a pro should know this, any pro should know this, any seasoned pro that knows any savvy about human nature, the human factors in golf, knows that when this guy goes back to that back tee, this FNG, who is hitting it straight about 1 out of 5 times, he's crushing the ball, but it only goes straight 1 out of 5 times. But the pro and all of his friends say, as long as you're hitting it far, don't worry about it. You'll pick it up. Don't worry about it. We have a free pass. You see all that room over on the north of the cart path on the 6th hole? See all that room up there? We give that to you as a hitter's park. This is a hitter's park. They're not going to be out of bounds until the ball lands in my yard. I'm a planned, engineered, socially engineered by the golf course, the town of Buckeye, the HOA, to be the landing and recovery area for mediocre golf. I got broken windows everywhere. I got marks all over my house everywhere. I got thrown in jail because I escorted a golfer off my property. And I got thrown in jail for missing a court date that I didn't have a clue about. You want to talk about fascism in this country, or this creeping fascism? It's for real. I saw it. I experienced it. I spent 4 days and 3 nights in Joe Arpaio's 4th Avenue jail on an arrest, and when I got out of jail and admitted to this young judge out here in Buckeye that I had no clue about any court date, I didn't intend to miss it. I didn't miss it on purpose. I didn't have any clue that I even had a court date. You know what he did? He held up my summons. He says, of course you didn't. You're in Buckeye. You were pushing buttons out there. Go do something about it. I went and got a lawyer, and even a lawyer didn't. I paid the lawyer $6,000, and I paid court fees, and I lost my bail money, $500 to get out of jail. And when I went to the lawyer and said I never got served, and they threw me in jail, the lawyer rolled over and played dead. That should have been that was civil rights. My civil rights got trampled that day by fascism, Buckeye fascism. When they talk about the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, those Proud Boys and Oath Keepers have been in Buckeye forever. The Proud Boys and Oath Keepers is why track day is such a mess right now, that it doesn't comply. That's why you got the Grand Canyon hanging out coming off the end of track day, which is a walking easement. It's an access easement. But I don't go along with that. That's why I'm kicked out of the HOA. I seem to be moving around, but as the golfers come up and start playing that hole, the golfers are delighted. And they have, see, that's their iconic tee box. And because they're FNGs and they're amateurs and they don't know what they're doing and never taken a lesson, they don't realize that they can take out a window. They don't realize how lucky they are to have two fairways out here. You got one fairway that's green on the left side of the cart path or the south side, and you got a whole bailout area fairway to the right of that. And that stays bailout area until you hit a property line. Then you're out of bounds. You're not out of bounds so that you can hit a ball. Going back to baseball, now you got hitters back there, young guys that are strong as bulls, they're gorillas, that only hit the ball straight. They're crushing the ball every shot and only hitting it straight maybe 1 out of 2 times. They're hitting wicked slices. Everybody knows they're slicing the ball, and with a wind coming out of the southwest, this FNG out there doesn't realize that he can take out a house window here. If you told them, if you stepped up to him and says, if you miss this shot or hit one of your classic slices, you're going to take a window out up there in that house. What do you think the response would be? Huh? What do you think the response would be from this young gorilla who grew up in Buckeye, this white supremacist, this little white nationalist wearing a red hat, MAGA, right? They think my yard is the Capitol building. When they buy a greens fee, they go, we got a free pass. Not only can we hit balls on his yard and use his yard for out of bounds, they all know that we're not going to be out of bounds or we're not going to get penalized until the ball goes in his yard. When it goes in his yard, then we'll pay the price. We'll have to take a shot. Up to that point, we can go up and get that ball. We can take a camera with us. We can look in his patio. And then what we can do is we can go back and complain to the golf course. We can complain to the HOA that he's sitting up there. He's bothering us. What's he doing having a camera on us? I have a camera because sometime today, if this gets really busy, like in the afternoon, if somebody, all the Friday afternoon people got off work, let's go out and play the afternoon rates out at Sundance. That tee box right there isn't set up for them. What it is set up for is interdiction and harassment fire. The realization of the social engineering that they planned when they put the tee box there in the beginning. Don't tell me that you don't know that I'm on the outside, in the middle of the bell-shaped curve. Anybody that took statistical analysis would say the more you move that tee box away from me, the further it is up, you're making me right in the middle of the bell-shaped curve. Now, if you take that tee box and put it on the other side of the lake where it belongs, I wouldn't have any problems. But I've had so many balls come in this yard, especially when they have the hole-in-one contest, when they try to give away like a 4-ton truck, pickup truck, or something like that. They move all the tee boxes. So now you've got FNGs who came out here and thought that they might play the silver tees or the gold tees. No, not that day, not that Saturday. That Saturday, everybody, for charity's sake, is going to hit from back 177 yards. Okay? Everybody. The women are going to hit from the front of the aircraft carrier there, the flat top. They're going to be hitting about 155, 160 yards for a hole-in-one. Everybody. That's everybody. So whatever group, whatever demographic of amateurs, beginners, never taken a lesson, Nicky New guys, FNGs, whatever group or spectrum shows up that day, and if you have 200 of them, guaranteed there's going to be a couple of gorillas up there that are going to be able to kill the ball. They're going to put a iron, they're going to put like a 5-wood in their hand, or maybe a 5-iron, and say, you can hit it that far. Go ahead. We've seen you hit it this far. It's 177 yards. All right, here's a 5-wood. All right, go ahead. We know you can hit it that far. Yeah, they know he can hit it that far, and they also know he only hits that far, only hits it straight 1 out of 5 times. So they bring this guy out and let him play the course, and then the thing of it is they let him hit multiple shots. Now, I'm in play, downrange and in range on every shot. Every shot is a potential broken window or some kid getting head, any of my visitors getting hit in the head with a golf ball. I can't sit out here on a busy day. I would never think of sitting out here on a busy day. And from the ladies' tee box, if I didn't have this little bank here, they'd be able to look right into my patio, and I don't like that. Because, let's face it, I am considered profane in this community. I'm kicked out of the HOA. They look at me like I'm an interloper, a shit stirrer, a troublemaker, whatever you want to call it, a carpetbagger, and last and most of all, the worst, a Yankee that saw the big game played. I've seen the big game played. This abortion that you call track day out here would never exist in some communities back east. If it's on the plat map, it would be there. You people are getting away with fascism. Fascism. I got arrested and thrown in jail for, like I said, over the weekend. 4 days and 3 nights on a warrant that I never saw until I got out of jail, and a judge held it up to me and admitted, we never sent this to you. Catch-22. We can arrest you for missing a court date even though you never knew about it. And you're not going to do anything about it. Go out and hire a lawyer, and that's exactly what I did. I hired a lawyer, and that lawyer rolled over and played dead. You know why? Because this is fascism. This is Joe Arpaio fascism. This whole state, to think that this state has somebody running for governor in the United States, that we still have somebody who's running for governor who's an election denier, who doesn't believe that the election was fair, that's sad. That's really sad. That's as sad as having the pro shop and the people who run this course engineer this carnage for me. This is engineered strategy of interdiction and harassment fire. They all know. All we have to do is put that tee box back on that corner, and we got him. We know. We know there's going to be high school kids, Carillas. They come out here and they hit one more ball. I'm in shot on every. I'm in range. I'm threatened. I have risk on every shot. There's a risk right now if that fella does anything. If he has a senior moment where he forgets at impact and he blocks it, I'm only 40 miles away, 40 feet away, yards. I'm only about 45 yards and just off line. Just off line. And it's even worse for the longer tees, because those longer tees, when somebody gets back there, like I said, when they're having a hole-in-one contest and they got 2 trucks there that you can win, and they've got the tees all pulled back, like during the morning, as long as that hole-in-one contest is going on, everybody's going to hit. All the men are going to hit. If they want to play the course, they paid the round. If they want to hit, they have to hit from 177 yards. Okay? So you've got guys that have never hit a ball 177 yards in their life. If they have, it wasn't straight. And you're letting them people get up there and hit away. And when the ball comes in my yard, not only are those people ignorant as far as the golf swing, they don't have the game in their bag. They don't have the game in their bag, and they don't have the game in their head. They don't have any clue what etiquette is. They've been playing here for so long, and all their people that they've been playing with here so long, that they've had a free pass. It's understood here in Sundance, especially in the summer, when all the patios are empty and all the furniture is covered up and put away, that you got a free pass to walk in anybody's yard. Don't worry about it. You're not going to offend anybody. You're not going to offend us, and you're not going to offend the people who aren't here. Well, I live here year-round. I'm offended, okay? I don't like people walking in my yard. I don't like people walking down my yard, looking in my yard, staying on the golf course, and then when I challenge them, I go, what are you doing? And I do. I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps. I'm still a Marine at heart. I don't take no shit from nobody. I took shit for 4 years in Marine Corps. When I got out, that was it. All right? I didn't want to join any fraternal groups or nothing like that. My goal in life was to get in and out of the Marine Corps alive. I did. That's it. You can have all your fraternal groups and all the stuff like that, your hypocrisy and shit like that. As far as I'm concerned, I'm being victimized by Jim Crow. Whenever you go into executive session and start talking about how you're going to penalize me and charge me money and fine me and do everything and put liens against me and send lawyers for me, when you go into meetings like that, those are lodge meetings. You guys are all playing Masons, all right? The women and the men get in there to play Masons. Nothing goes in, nothing comes out. I got the sheet that I had to sign. You have to sign a disclosure, a non-disclosure sheet to even run for office. You gotta see what's on that sheet. It's like, you don't say nothing. Everything is secret. Nothing goes in, nothing comes out of an executive session. It's a lodge meeting where we can go in and blackball anybody we want. Now, another thing besides getting arrested on a warrant that I never got served on is when they put the sign on Track Day. Track Day was open to golf carts for about 2 years. Nobody used it. We had people over here in the HOA living on the corner that told and convinced everybody that is not a golf cart. It's not to be used, it's golf carts. And because for so many years up to that point, it hadn't been used for a golf cart, nobody used it. Except two guys. One came in from the Midwest, the other one's from Dakotas. They started using it. And as they were using the golf cart, they started compressing the elevation that had been put on the threshold. When they filled that Track Day in, they brought in rock, they brought in a membrane, they brought in like a synthetic membrane, like a plastic membrane, and they degraded everything with a threshold. That threshold is like, has to be overcome before the water can get out of Track Day. And the water gets as deep as 2 or 3 inches in Track Day, filled from side to side, end to end, filled with water that they can't get out. And when it stops raining, that 4 or 5 inches of water that's in Track Day sits there and it gets absorbed into the land. We soak it up like a sponge. All right, there's a Grand Canyon at the end of Track Day. Okay, I know this. I have engineering credentials. I can prove to you on paper. I have all the papers. I have the master plan. I have the master plan for the community, and I have a letter. But I can't get anybody to see that this is an emergency. Track Day is an emergency exit in and out of Parcel 12. If anybody can see, has anybody seen all the activity that's going on north of Sundance Parkway? I don't know what they're going to bring in, houses, hotels, car dealerships, or what. I really don't care. But I know one thing. Sundance Parkway is going to become a NASCAR track. And sooner or later, there's going to be a real bad pileup. I've seen a number of pileups coming out of the two portals that service parcel 12. Those portals are only 100 yards from each other. Any major accident between those portals or around those portals in the future is going to paralyze any entrance and exit out of parcel 12. Now, I watch 4-ton trucks come from Sundance Parkway over this cart path and park on the 6th tee. They have no problem getting here. They drive right off of Sundance Parkway and they have a nice terra firma cart path here to drive to the 6th tee. Now, what I see when I see a truck like that for a hole-in-one contest, what I see, if they have that kind of access from Sundance Parkway, what I see, and the board of directors should see, and the golf course should see, and the mayor, and especially Craig Hustis, come on guy, let's be civil responsibility here. Sooner or later, track day is going to be needed as an emergency ingress and egress out of parcel 12. If you want to play the long game, go ahead. Play the long game. It'll happen sooner or later. What's going to happen sooner or later is we're going to have a meltdown out there. It could be 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, but there's going to be a meltdown out there on Sundance Parkway, and something's going to happen here, whether it's a fire, emergency, somebody has a heart attack, they need emergency medical. The way they got this set up, you couldn't even get a car up through there. Talk about an emergency vehicle. You got a Grand Canyon sitting at the end, and it seems like the only explanation I can get from anybody, and it's implied. It's implied. Nobody said it, but they imply it when they say, "If you don't like it, move." And that's the only answer. I've talked to very many members of the board. Whenever I talk to them, I try to talk about what happened over here, what we're missing. We don't have an emergency in and out here, that we're storing water up here. It's going to cause a hazard for West Nile virus because you're going to be able to breed mosquitoes. If you have a real wet season, you're going to have track day wet all the time. That doesn't seem to get over to anybody, but someday it might. And someday, and I'm warning you right now, that one of these days, and I've got video. If I hadn't went through it and researched it all, but I got video of balls landing on that tee box from the 5th tee and people ducking, where they hear a 4 and they all have to duck, and the person comes up and hits the ball off the tee box up to the next thing, right? How long are you going to let this go on? How long are you going to let maybe 10 or 15, 16 people wait there while you got some new guy who hit 4 balls from the long tees? Him and his buddies each hit 4 balls each. They had 3 holes between them and the people behind them when they got on the tee, but they all hit 4 and 5 balls each, spraying them all over the place, right? Because they don't know what they're doing. They don't care about time. They don't care about pace of play. And their next move is to come up and look for all the balls they hit. If they hit them up here, or whatever, if they're in the lake and they're close to the shore, they're looking, they got their wands out. Now finally they get to play the last ball they hit. And guess what? They got no short game. They don't know how to play small ball. Small ball is in baseball. Bunting. Bunting, reading signs, learning how to catch, learning how to run bases, learning how to take leads. Perfect example, that Ohtani, an FNG to Major League Baseball, right? His first year or second year, his specialty, pitching and hitting a home run. Pitching and hitting home runs, right? Do they teach him small ball? Nah. don't care about small ball. What happens? He gets up first. I think he hit the first pitch they threw at him, got him single. He got on first, and then he got picked off. Why? Because he's a slugger. He's a specialist. That's what we have here. On the weekends, when I watch these young bucks, the term young bucks, that's something we had when I was a kid, but these young gorillas that are, well, first of all, they're in their 20s or 30s. They're all around 200 pounds. They've all got brand new clubs, and they're all back on either the gold or the black. Okay? Swinging for the fence. They're designated hitters. I'm going to par this hole only one way. I'm only going to par this hole one way. I'm going to put it on the green from back here. Or that's the way I'm going to play it. I'm going to play it that I'm going to hit the green from back here. I'm a new guy. I'm 177 yards away. I haven't had any practice, or I haven't had any skills courses. I haven't had any lessons. I'm just going to get back here because my friends told me I could hit a 5-iron from here. They told me to take the 5-wood. So I'm out here, I'm hitting the 5-wood. I don't know, and nobody's taught me, and I don't have the etiquette or the knowledge or the wisdom to know that if I lose one, like I usually do, every other one, if I lose one, every other one like I usually hit to the right. See, this FNG doesn't know that he's going to take out a window, or a child, or a person. Okay? And when the golf course, when they break my window and I call up the golf course, and I go, he broke my window, they go, it was an accident. He didn't mean it. Of course. Now, not one of these golfers today, these are the morning crowd. You got to understand, these guys that are playing this morning are the men's group, or part of the men's group. They're the local, they got their own carts. You can tell they're all driving their own carts. They play within themselves. You don't see these guys back on 177 yards. They're trying to shoot a score. And another thing is, I played probably 55 years. 55 years on and off playing golf. The first thing that was taught to me is never get downrange and in range when somebody's hitting a golf ball. Okay, golf balls can kill you. Alright? They can send you to the hospital. The pros know that. The pros that run this pro shop should know that a golf ball can kill somebody. A mishit golf ball. And the people in the pro shop here should know that predominantly there's right-handed players on this tee box. The people in the pro shop also know that when right-handed players start playing, predominantly they miss right. They either block it right or they hit a slice right. Why? Because they don't know how to square up the club. A lot of them are baseball players. They're all baseball players. They don't think swing, they think hit. They're not thinking of swinging the club and making good contact. They're thinking of hitting that ball as hard as they can. And when they do that and they extend and they flex their muscles and they get into adrenaline, guess what? We have trouble at impact. We have trouble with alignment. We have trouble with trying to hit it straight. And we have trouble, the trouble is, they're playing a game that's way over their head. Another trouble for me is the golf course has gave them 2 fairways. The golf course says, go ahead, go back there at 177 because you have 2 fairways. You have the real fairway in green that you know you can't land on because if you land on it, it's going to roll into the lake. So this is Arizona golf, user-friendly golf in Arizona. This is the way we do it in Arizona. All right, we really don't care about that person up there. That person up there is making it hard for us. He's building a history. I got a history of over 2 years of paying dues and paying taxes to the HOA, and the HOA I can't get into. I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps during Vietnam. I never went to Vietnam. I almost did. When this redneck staff sergeant, fat slob redneck and staff sergeant in Okinawa, when I got off the plane from the United States, when he told me to get in line for the Vietnam, I told him, wait a minute. See, I had orders to Japan, and I knew it. I didn't know it for a while, but I went to see my buddies up at El Toro just before, the night before I got on the plane to go to Westpac, Okinawa. I went to my old squadron to see all my friends and say goodbye to them in the squadron in El Toro. And the first thing they said is, when you get to Okinawa, do not let them send you to Vietnam. The squadron just got pulled out of Vietnam. Both squadrons that your training and your MOS is set up for are not in Vietnam anymore. And we're getting rumors, scuttleback back, that some people with orders to Japan have been shuttled off to Vietnam, and now they're in Vietnam, and we're having trouble getting them back. Okay? So I was already primed. If I hadn't have gone and seen my friends, drove the 80 or 90 miles from Camp Pendleton that night to go see my friends, made it a point to go see them and say goodbye to them, I would have known that. Okay? But when I got to Okinawa, I was waiting. Plus, I'd been in the Marine Corps almost 2 years by that time. I'd had 2 years of chicken shit under my back. Jim Crow Marine Corps, okay? Fucking with you for the sake of fucking with you. I had more mess duty, guard duty, these shitty duties that I had to put up with for almost 2 years before I got to Okinawa. So I had a little salt on my collar, where the people who I went through Pendleton with, staging, and who were on the plane with me were brand new Marines, brand new men and Marines, right? Been in the Corps less than 6 months. About 6 months, 7 months at the most, and they were going to Vietnam. Well, when the guy said, this fat slob reminded me of, some people in this neighborhood that I've dealt with. This fat slob goes, La Cham, Vietnam. Whoa, 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 time out, time out. Well, then the guy got real Marine on me. He went real blustery redneck Marine on me. Marine, get your ass over there. Time out, buddy. I ain't going in no fucking line, okay? And I stood my ground. He kept it up. He kept turning up the volume on, he didn't expect that because he's used to dealing with raw recruits. I had almost 2 years under my belt. I knew what guys like him were all about. I dealt with them for almost 2 years. Dumb fucking redneck NCOs, right? Staff sergeant. And this fat slob who was sitting in the rear was going to send me to Vietnam. Well, I kept up, and then finally there was a warrant officer, and a warrant officer that was floating around the area, and when the volume got high enough to where this guy started noticing, and he came over and more or less said, is there a problem here? And I let him know. I said, my orders are for Japan. This guy's trying to send me to Vietnam. That was it. I didn't go to Vietnam. But this redneck was ready to take my name no matter what was said. No matter what was said on the orders, we need boots on the ground in Vietnam. I'm sitting back here, fat slob NCO from the boondocks, right? I grew up under Jim Crow, okay? You're going. No, I'm not. And that's the reason my name ain't on the wall right now. That's probably the biggest reason my name's not on the wall in Washington, is I stood up to him. Now, an analogy to that is I'm standing up to you right now and I'm calling you on this. You're friggin' handcuffing me every day. Don't tell me that you don't know from 177 yards back there that I'm going to get bombarded. I've had windows taken out. I've had thousands of golf balls in this yard. Now, I got the camera set up to let you know what's going on here. You see how hard they're hitting the ball? That guy had pretty good club head speed. He had well more than enough club head speed, and that's what I'm going to try to get across today. HOA, we got a unique situation. Nobody appreciates it here. Nobody appreciates my situation that day in and day out I'm getting interdiction and harassment fire. Incoming. I'm getting overrun. I'm getting overrun by people that walk into my yard after their golf ball because they've been able to do it for years. They're redneck, Buckeye fascists, okay? My yard might as well be the Capitol building, and they might as well be. But getting back to the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, whoever built, whenever they built Tract A, when it was built intentionally out of compliance. It was built intentionally out of compliance so that they could bring in 4-ton trucks over that cart path. If they would have built it right, that there would have been a void underneath the cart path. It would have been a space for water to run underneath it. They would have had to over-engineer it. They didn't have to over-engineer anything. Right now, they can run 8-ton trucks, 4-ton trucks over that cart path right next to the ladies' tee with impunity. They don't have to worry about anything. What they did years ago is these, I want to call them hillbilly porch pirates out here. When they found out that a California had outbid them for this lot, the first thing they went in to do was lower my house. That's another thing. They lowered my house 3 inches, which affects the sewer pipes. On the front page of the grading map, grading and utilities map, there's a grading map and there's a utility master map. On one of the pages on the front of it, the map says all the calculated finished floor elevations in this master plan community of about 1,100 houses are written in stone. They can't be touched. You can't go below them. Why? Anybody know why? All you genius, how about all you rocket scientists on the board? How about all you rocket scientists, all you women that don't look, you're more concerned on the looks instead of what really happened. They lowered my house 3 inches. They lowered my house. What they did is, it's like selling me a set of tires with 60,000 mile tires and you've already put 30,000 miles on it and you didn't tell me. No. I've got, from the day that sewer system was built for my house, it was a 30-year-old system that had a lot of stuff go through it because it was running slower than it should. My sewer effluent runs to the street slower than it's supposed to. It's out of compliance. It's out of compliance. When they lowered my house, they lowered the flow rate of the sewers going to the street. Not only did they lower my house 3 inches, they lowered my neighbor's house 2 inches. And they never told anybody. I had to find this out through due diligence. And I found it out through due diligence and serendipity. Due diligence was I went and got all the paperwork and I went and got the police reports. I got the police videos. I even went and talked to Scott Zipperich in town hall. I talked to Woody Scouten, went down and talked to him in town hall. Right now, nobody will talk to me in town hall. If I go to the town hall and the first thing they ask you is, who are you? And when I tell them my name, nobody's home. They got a wall out there with about 30 or 40 business cards on it for that floor, the second floor, and nobody's home because they've been told, just like the manager, and that's why I'm not allowed in the HOA, because I'm going to tell everybody about what happened to track day. All you golfers that look up here and give me a dirty look, all you old timers, if you get to see this video when you go by every morning, and especially the ladies. I've had ladies take their friggin' cameras out and take pictures of me sitting up here. They don't like it, all right? Well, I don't like having the out-of-bounds stakes right on my property line either. And I don't like getting bombarded indiscriminately. This is indiscriminate. It's interdiction and harassment fire. And the golf club knows this. I wish I had the money like Trump. I'd be suing you right now. I'd be suing you. And the thing of it is, I've got this camera up just to show. Right now, you're not going to see much drama because it's a men's club. They stay within themselves. These are middle-aged men or whatever, or older. They're trying to protect their handicap. And because it's a men's club, they might have a handicap with the score. They have to play these tees to keep their handicap because of handicap, all that. Well, you're not going to see much drama here. But you're going to see homegrown swings. You got to understand, every swing that comes up on that tee box is homegrown. And I don't have, like Star Wars, an electronic shield I can put up. The only shield that I can put up, really, to stop trespassing and privacy, my privacy concerns, where I don't like golfers looking in on my patio, is to put this berm here. And it has to be here. I've got videos of people walking on this property like they own the place. Like I said, it's like watching January 6th at the Capitol building. And I got these, the people who built Track Day before I ever saw it, or after I saw it, and the people that lowered my house, those are the people running around with guns. Those people are the people that are running around in guns at the Capitol building. These people took it upon themselves to say, this guy from California, we're going to lower his house. We're going to take his property and make it a retention basin, and then we're going to borrow this tee box. And the reason we have to borrow the tee box is that lake has a limited capacity. We didn't build it big enough. We don't need any water from parcel 12 down on our lake. We'd rather store it in Track Day. That'll take the relieve the lake in a storm. In a monsoon, the lake in a storm is getting water from everywhere. It's flowing in from everywhere, okay? It doesn't need to be flowing in from parcel 12. We're going to hold it up there on those people's lots and in Track Day. Track Day is going to be the retention. There's going to be no path for water into the lake from parcel 12, okay? That's why you have a Grand Canyon here. Now, another thing that happens on the weekends is the weekend players, you can tell when it's Saturday. If you don't see a cart go up to the tee boxes they're using now, the men's club used during the week, on Saturday they get used very little. Because on Saturday it's wannabe golfers, FNG golfers, Nicky New Guy golfers, what do I want to call them, designated hitter golfers. Oh yeah, it's getting back to where the designated hitters back there. Okay, you got a group of 4 people on a Saturday and you've sold 250 rounds. Okay, you know you've got the reservations and everything else. So what do? You take the tees and you put them back, and then you put the pin way back on the back side by the water. What are you thinking? If you're selling a lot of... Now, what happens is, before I get to that subject, what happens is you've got these 4 guys back there, they don't know what they're doing. All they know is that we're men, we're playing the men's tees. And they start spraying golf balls. And everyone's got a homegrown swing. There isn't one, and you see one with a homegrown swing giving a lesson to another guy with a homegrown swing. Well, they each hit 2 or 3 balls each. And they spend a lot of time on the tee. Now they spend a lot of time looking for their ball. And when they finally get to that last ball, whether it's around the green, within 10 yards of the green, 30 yards of the green, maybe it's by the executive tees, they bailed out right, and now they've got to make that shot to the pin going back. These people have got Novocaine in their hands. They got no touchy-feely with the ball. The kid hit the ball the same way he hit it on the tee, drove it past the pin, back in the water. Now, you got 4 guys back there looking for a ball back there, and they've wasted so much time hitting balls, looking for balls, and then hitting extra balls, and his other buddies were hitting 2 or 3 balls back and forth over the green to get it in because they got no touchy feel. They don't know how to run the bases. They don't know how to play small ball. They don't know how to read a green. They don't know how to putt. They couldn't make a 2-foot putt if they had to. They can't chip, pitch. They don't know what they're doing. And that group is one of your lead groups on a Saturday where you sold 200 rounds. And you've got 12 carts waiting back here. They had 3 holes open between them and the next group when they got on the 6th tee, but by the time they walked off the 6th tee, there were 12 carts sitting there. Now, one thing on a Saturday is people are playing the long ball. Again, it isn't a weekday morning where the men's club are playing within themselves. You've got guys back on the tee, that's when I have to worry about the other side of the house. That's when I worry about the other side of the house. And whenever I get balls in the yard, usually it's on the other side of the house. It's usually on the weekend, on busy weekends, because you get guys back there who are exactly what I said, the demographic that are on every golf course in America. Young, strong, gorilla, hitting slices, crushing the ball, and more or less going wherever he wants. Now, if I would have had a camera on my 3 lots right from the beginning, an all-seeing eye at all times, that camera would have recorded thousands of golf balls in my yard, thousands of golfers trespassing in my yard. I've gotten up in the morning, walked out to the kitchen, and had a big honking 200-pound 6'2" golfer turning furniture over on my patio, and when I open up the door and go, "What are you doing?" he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just looking for my golf ball." It's okay, I'm just looking for my golf ball, it's all right. Oh, that'd be like saying it was all right to go into the Capitol building on January 6th. I'm just walking in here. Well, wait a minute, I didn't break in. I was outside and I found the door was open and I walked in, so I figured I'd sit on people's desks, put my feet up on people's desks and stuff like that. You're putting your feet up on my desk in my house when you put that tee box there. I hope you understand. I'm going to start entertaining and sending letters to lawyers or sending videos to lawyers. Whoever won that case back east, I understand. I've been dealing with this for nearly 20 years. 20 years. The only thing that has slowed down the golfers coming on this property and the rate or the frequency of golfers and golf balls on my property and broken windows is that golf is dead. It's dead. And it's dying even more. The golf doesn't even know what it wants to be anymore, right? Donald Trump, he's not only screwed up the country with fascism, he took fascism and took it to the golf world, all right? I am never going to watch a live golf course. I'm done watching golf. I am. I'm done watching it. I watched the last two things and I was bored to death. Okay? Watching Rory and nobody challenging him. The rest of the field, where was all the big players, right? And so, as you can see right now, this group is waiting to hit. When you get slow play, that becomes filled with people, filled with golf carts and people. And I think I have a right to record it. If you're going to use my property for out of bounds, and you are, you know I'm being hit. Andy knows, and I'm sick of some little punk in his 30s telling me that it was an accident. They didn't mean it. Accident my ass. This is a planned event. This is a constant, like in math. You can set your clock by it. The minute you open this up to weekend play and you put that tee box back there, I'm going to be showered with incoming all day long. You got reverse pivots, you got inside out swing, outside out, some of the ugliest swings in the world. And to think that these people with ugly swings are allowed to hit more than one ball, 4 and 5 balls sometimes. If it isn't busy, it's disgraceful what I watch. It's a scrimmage golf. They're not trying to shoot par. If I was a golf pro right now, I wouldn't let them. I wouldn't let anybody hit anything over a 7-iron for like the first 2 years until the guy come in with a par round from the executive tees. You're not going back. I don't want to teach you how to hit anything over a 7-iron. Okay? And that 7-iron is to chip from the green then. You're going to learn everything about playing around the green before I ever let you go back. And when you let these little kids swinging, this is a theory. Little guys, young men until they get their full growth, I don't think they should be swinging drivers. They shouldn't be doing all this movement of range and turning and the kinesiology, the bone to muscle relationship that's happening at a very young age when you've got these guys swinging for the fence. There's a lot of dynamic somebody just requested to play through. They want to play through. Well, that's the problem. You got, like I said, you got Buckeye to me is filled with Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. The Proud Boys are the people that look at that tee box and the golf shop. The golf shop, the people that are in the on the board, they're very proud that still looks like that. They're very proud that after getting a letter from Woody Scouten, they were able to keep that tee box. More or less everybody by leaving it there, you're all implying to me, you haven't said it, but we stole it fair and square. We got paperwork to back it up. We stole it fair and square. It's ours. And that's why we had to kick you out of the HOA, because every time you come in the HOA, you won't accept the fact that it's stolen fair and square. Even though we don't have any paper, we got a little cob job paperwork that came out after Woody Scouten wrote it up for being out of compliance. They did a cob job. They let us keep the thing, and they opened it up to golf carts for about 2 years. But in that 2 years, it didn't get much golf cart use. It only 2 people used it. Only 2 people used the golf cart access on track day during the 2 years that it was available to golf carts. Because, and it took a while for the new guy. And they were new. because they were new. They weren't brainwashed from the beginning by the people who lived on each side of Tract A that this was private property. You couldn't come here. All right, so they started using it, and I got video of where you can see where the road or the cart path over Tract A, with every time a golf cart was pressing it down, it was compacting it. What it was doing, it was lowering the threshold. That threshold was set up by my neighbors, Dan Vesgerna and Neil Lofdahl, when they were out there with a transit and a guy from the landscape company, and they were telling the guy from the landscape company they had the pad and paper, they had figured out the height that they were going to establish that threshold to keep the water up on Tract A. They had it all figured out. It doesn't rain that much in Buckeye. We'll take at the most storm, we're going to put it here. So that means we're going to have a banana-shaped, the profile, the horizontal profile from start to finish on this tract is going to be banana-shaped. It's going to be low in the middle and high on the ends. And it's going to trap water. It's going to retention basin. All right? What happened was, during that 2 years, all those calculations that were done by Neil Lofdahl and Dan Vesgerna were being compromised every time a golf cart went over it. Every time a golf cart went over the threshold, they knocked it down. You'll see it in the videos. The threshold got knocked down. And you could see in the videos after like 2 years where there was starting to be a roadway being compressed the whole length of Tract A. And then we had a storm in August of 2020. We had a monsoon in August of 2020. And it let the water out early. It cut the first Grand Canyon. That Grand Canyon at the end of Tract A isn't the first. There's been a number of them. But the first one got cut, or the second one got cut in August of 2020. Or 19. We had a hell of a storm, a monsoon storm, and it came down so fast and so hard that the rain washed over the threshold and washed the threshold out, and there was so much rain and water that it formed a little ditch at the end. Well, when that happened right around the election, when Jackie Met got elected. Jackie Met got elected right around the same time that we had that storm, August, and the people who helped Jackie Met get elected wanted Tract A closed. When they saw that the threshold had been breached during that storm, and the reason the threshold had been breached during the storm was because golf carts had been allowed to go over it for 2 years and knock down the threshold. We had it all, we had the geometry all set, but the geometry that kept the water up there got compromised by golf carts constantly, day in and day out, driving over that threshold and lowering it. They're letting the water out early. The valve, they've destroyed the valve, okay? The standpipe, okay? The standpipe got lowered. The water's getting out early, okay? So, that's why when Dan Vesgerna got here in September, the first thing he did was drive to, and he did it. I'll send you the video. When you look at the video, please look at the video and see where Dan Vesgerna, him and his wife, what the first thing they said to policemen. The first thing they said to the policeman, I bet you've seen that guy's face in a wanted poster in the post office, right? That's the way the conversation. And both the police and them got a joke and a laugh out of it. A hee hee ha ha. Okay? Then they proceeded to tell the policeman how I had just drove my golf cart and thrown rocks intentionally onto the yard and killed the bird. I even killed a bird. okay? And that's why he had to put stakes up, because people were throwing rocks in his yard, and what it was, and then he admitted on the video that I'd already talked to the clubhouse. They said they were going to put a sign up anyway. So his idea is, since they told me I'm going to put a sign up anyway, I've got proxy authority to go out there and shut down any golf cart traffic over that easement now. The golf carts have been going there for 2 years, and the golf cart traffic has been going over there for 2 years, but in one day, the first day I get back, I open up my garage door to let everybody know I'm back for the season. I'm back for the season. And he took it upon himself to take 2 pieces of rusty rebar about 3/4 inch in diameter and about 4 or 5 feet long and drive them into the ground to stop anybody. And he left them there overnight. I immediately, when I came home from getting a haircut, I immediately called up Carol Clinton and said, Caroline, the guy's got rusted rebar driven in the thing. There's no lights, nothing on that. He just did it. What are you going to do about it? She goes, I'll have it taken care of. I'm getting on it right now. Guess what? The next morning when I got up, they were still there. I called the cops immediately. I called the police immediately. Okay? And I've got about an hour video of me talking to the police, explaining everything I did and everything that was going on with track day, right? Now, a week later, the policeman made Dan take out the rusty rebar, but they had a video. I've got the video. He's got a video, and I want to let you know the Nazis, the fascists, entrapment, the way they think out here, the way they apply the law out here in Buckeye is this guy. I started in complaining about the politics here. I started in on my neighbors, everything. I let them know what happened. I'm fully aware what happened. Okay? They stole the tee box. They stole track day. These people who live on track day, on each side of track day, have got an entitlement. They got an entitlement. It was given to them by the HOA, by the town of Buckeye. This is going to be yours, stolen fair and square, right? It's an emergency ingress and egress. You guys are going to look like idiots. You people on the board, you people in town politics, you're going to look like idiots if somebody dies over here someday waiting for emergency medical, or we waiting for a fire ambulance or whatever, fire truck. They can't get in here. What was designed to be part of the emergency access easement here was taken away. And after the policeman came and he made Dan Veskerna take out the rods, and everybody had the video, and the video got circulated from the police all through the HOA. I'm sure the HOA had privy to that police video. When they saw what was at stake and what I knew, they said we have to close it. It's too controversial. To make sure this doesn't happen again, and that's what this Dan Veskerna, anybody watch the video, you'll see Dan Veskerna basically say, yeah, without permission I put these in. They didn't really give me permission. All they said was they're going to put a sign in. So I took it upon myself to put these in here. Okay? And I want a sign that says no golf carts. All I want is a sign that says no golf carts. I had this property all to myself for about 9 years without any golf carts going by my house. This was a private lot until Mr. Lasham got involved with the civil engineering faction and got involved with Woody Scouten, and Woody Scouten wrote it up Now I've lost, and I want to sell my house. A week later, it wasn't 10 days or a week later, they put in the sign. There was nothing on the website. The Sundance website had nothing. There was nothing. Nobody got a letter, nothing on the website, anything about closing that access easement. Nothing, 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 nothing was said about closing the access easement to take it from golf carts and not having golf carts. Well, I watched the sign go in and I was wondering how did this happen? How did this happen? There was nothing. Nothing was said, nothing was done. And right about that time I got a notice for a HOA meeting. So I went to the HOA meeting, and when I got there, I've learned by going to HOA meetings, and this is for anybody who belongs to an HOA, if you don't want to have brackets of humans put around you in an HOA meeting, and I've had it done. When you go in there and you sit alone, you get there early, they take 2 or 3 of their fascist goons that have the same agenda they do, and they sit them on each side of you, or around you. They put one on each side and one behind you. Okay? That way they can control you. Alright? I had Jeff Swartz tell me to shut up in a meeting once. I went to a meeting. I got there about 20 minutes early. I went over and I sat in the dark. Alright? Because they knew I had an agenda. I've had an agenda with the HOA since the beginning. As the beginning. I had a letter in my file 1 month. 1 month after I closed all 3 houses, I had a letter in my file that was put there by a guy who told Star Ballou, that I had 3 kids living in my house. Which was impossible because I didn't. There's no possible way I had 3 kids living in my house. It'd be impossible. Alright? But he told her, and she put a letter in my file for violating the age limit here in Buckeye. Well, I had just gotten out of a 1-week course in human factors. I worked for United Airlines. United Airlines, up to that point, about 19 to 205, well, it started with affirmative action in 86. When affirmative action came on in 86, and they were forced to hire people in the airline industry that really weren't qualified, or they had to make allowances, and there were quotas where you had to let people in, stuff like that. Well, they started having lawsuits because there was so much resentment in the male-dominated, we're talking male-dominated airline industry. When I first broke in, you could walk in a hangar and every toolbox was plastered with nude women, females. It was a man's world. Within about 6 years after affirmative action, you can't go into a hangar right now anywhere and see nudes on on any toolbox. There's been a lot of lawsuits. They've cleaned up the act. It's a different world than what it used to be. It isn't a men's world anymore. But I had human factors. And it was a 1-week class where they took people, they would set up these classes of about 30 or 40 people. And they wouldn't be all mechanics, or they wouldn't be all, they'd take whoever was in the hangar, whether you were a lead, a planner, whatever, a mechanic, whatever your job was, they tried to get a good spectrum mix in this room of about 40 people. And they would talk about human factors. Human factors are, and one of the most examples of human factors that they could come up with, or that they wanted us to understand and learn. They wanted us to understand. They gave analogies of it is one of the human factors is groupthink. Groupthink. That when you get a group together with a charismatic leader, lots of times groups, if the leader's really strong and he has a strong, even though they know that maybe it's wrong to go along with the group, they don't have the courage to say, they don't have the courage to step up and say this is wrong, so they go along with what the group wants. And the group usually, well, we have groupthink here in an HOA, and I'm gonna take it as far as saying the groupthink in an HOA is the closest thing to Jim Crow in the Old South. It is. It's Jim Crow. You got this groupthink of individuals who, for the first here, as an example, here at Sundance, the first people that were put on the board were placed there by Meritage votes. Meritage had a vote for every outstanding house that wasn't sold, for every lot that wasn't sold in the 1,100 adult. They had a vote, so that when halfway through the sales, when they got to the point where they sold enough where they could have one board member, they picked the board member because it was their votes that picked him. That board member, if somebody was running against him, once the HOA, once Meritage decided who they were going to vote for, the election was over. They put their man on the board, and they always put somebody on the board who was status quo. Golf friendly, status quo, golf friendly. Okay? That first person was Charlie Waters. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a motion or paperwork within the HOA somewhere or within the golf community here that has proposed or is trying to raise money to put a bronze statue of Charlie Waters out in front of Sundance Active Adult for all his contributions. Charlie Waters was the man. He still is. He's probably still pulling strings. Charlie Waters, now I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to give you an example of not only did I get thrown in jail on a warrant that I never got served on. They threw me in jail. They just said, you missed the court date. You're going to jail. And I was in jail. When I got out of jail and I went to court, the judge held up my summons and told me, you're right, we never sent it to you. I went and got a lawyer. That lawyer rolled over and played dead. Charged me $5,000, right? And rolled over and played dead. Was even smart and sarcastic to me on the phone. My first court appearance, after seeing the lawyer said, don't bother going. We'll take care of it. I said, are you shitting me? Excuse me? I think I'm going to be there, right? If I can get arrested for missing a court date that I never got served on, you think I'm going to trust you in that courtroom alone? I'm going to be there. Okay, so he goes, well, you don't have to be there. I'd suggest you don't be there. You're just going to mess things up. Okay, yeah. Well, on the date of my first court appearance, I had my sister, my niece, and my best friend. They were going to court with me, and when I went in and give them my name outside, you have to go through, get frisked, then you give them your name, and they go, you're not supposed to be here today. Right? They've I've only got it scheduled for your lawyer. You're not scheduled. I don't see you anywhere on the schedule here today to get into this courtroom for any reason. So I immediately went out to the car, got on the cell phone, and I called this Charlene. I think her name was Charlene, Teutonic name. She answered the phone for Cantor, my lawyer. And I says, I'm here, and they told me I'm not supposed to be here. She goes, well, we told you not to be there. We told you not to go there. Okay? Well, now that I remember it, they let me into the courtroom. They said, I don't see you on the list here. But I went into the courtroom, I was waiting, and when they found out, the guy's here. He's here. When the court found out I was there, they came out and they go, Mr. Lasham, they called me up and they said, we've canceled the thing for today. Go home. It's been canceled. Your lawyer's not showing up. So I went and I called the lawyer's office immediately, because here I had had people adjust their days and adjust their schedule and stuff like that to go into court with me, and guess what? No lawyer. No lawyer. I was there to talk to a judge about being thrown in jail, and there was no lawyer there to defend me, and they came out and they said, go home. Your lawyer's not going to show up. Go home. And when I called the lawyer's office, they said, we told you not to go there. He was on his way there. The lawyer showed up. He showed up. But when they found out I was there, they weren't going to have it. So, the next time I showed up, this lawyer came out. He was about 15 years younger than me. I'd say he was between 45 and 50. I was probably 65 at the time, in my 60s, 63 at the time, 62. He was probably 45 or 50. With his black robe, an American flag coming out, flying over there, and all these wannabe cops with their uniform, officers of the court standing there proud with their American flag. All right. So finally, they have to deal with me because I'm there that day. Okay. Who shows up with this guy named Joe Duarte. Joe Duarte looks like a pimp from LA. He's got gold all over him, gold chains, gold this, gold that. It's a slick pinstripe suit. Probably driving a Jaguar or something like that. Real slick dude, right? And this is the second time when I was represented. I told them, I said, I'm going to be. They canceled it, so they made another one. They made another one. So at the second one, that's where I'm standing there with Joe Duarte. And I've got this old judge. I forget his name. Osterfeld. He's an old judge from Buckeye. Old town judge. Probably been there forever. 30 years. Well, I'd never seen the guy before, and the first time in front of him, I'm standing there in front of him, and I just paid $5,000 to have this lawyer, and I've never met Joe Duarte before. I've never met him. Don't even know who he is. My lawyer was Cindy Castile. Everybody was telling me, Cindy Castile is your lawyer. Well, Cindy Castile never showed up. I got this guy and we didn't even have a powwow. We didn't even have a huddle. We just walked in there cold. I get in front of this judge, this Osterfeld, who's getting ready to retire, and he knows Duarte. They're smiling at each other like they've drank beers together. They know each other. Now I'm standing there, and the first thing this Osterfeld does is he starts to run up the bill on me for court fees. Well, you know, you're going to probably sacrifice your thing, and there's a court fee for this and a court fee for that, and I probably would have been lucky to get out of there for under $2,500. All right. Well, I sit there holding my mouth, and Duarte's not doing anything. He's just sitting there letting the guy run up the bill on me. And I said, wait, hey, dude, hey. I never got served. Just like that. I was never served. And Osterfeld, being a guy on the bench, a judge, he had to acknowledge that. Oh, you were never served? You were never served? No, I was never. And at that point, Duarte almost jumped out of his skin. He put his arms more or less, shut up, don't say another fucking word. We're putting the handcuffs on you. By the time you get out of here, you'll be in such a legal straitjacket and financial straitjacket, you won't dare say another word about track day. Well, anyway, I spoke up just like I spoke up in Okinawa to that fat slob that was going to send me to Vietnam. I spoke up. This Joe Duarte to me was a pimp, all right, with all his gold and shit, smiling and winking at the fucking judge while they were going to send me down the river. I spoke up and I said, I never got served. Oh, you never got served. Well, everything was dropped and everything was dismissed, but they kept my $500 bail money, and I've got a mugshot courtesy of fascist Buckeye on the website. There's a mugshot of me. If you do a search, if you pay $25 or $30 to do a search on my ass, you're going to see that I've got a mugshot for more or less assault. I assaulted somebody. No, I didn't. That somebody walked onto my yard after I told them to stay off it. This is what can happen when you buy a house in patio golf, okay? This is patio golf. And so after Dan Veskerna took the rods out, about 10 days later, here comes a crew and they put that new sign in at the end. No more golf carts. Well, then from what I hear, one of my neighbors had an argument with Dan Veskerna, and he says, what the hell is this? I've been driving my golf cart down here for the last couple of years. And Dan Veskerna says, well, you're not anymore. And the guy says, I'll drive it down here I want. And he drove past the thing because he had room. That afternoon, they put rocks. That afternoon is when the rocks went in. Dan Veskerna called up the HOA and said, look, this guy up here, the other neighbor isn't. But Dan Veskerna, while he was talking to the police, told the policeman that I had thrown rocks with my golf cart. Now that's what I want to talk about, the false witness. I don't have a golf cart. He had that policeman convinced, and everybody, so that when the people were watching that video, the police video from the HOA, they were believing him. Mr. Lasham drove his cart and killed a bird and threw rocks up. We have to protect Mr. Veskerna's right to that property. He had it for himself for 8 years. Now he wants to sell it. He can't sell it if there's a golf cart path going down the middle of it. He's lost all that privacy equity he had. He'll be just another run-of-the-mill member here instead of having this all to himself. Okay? This is what I'm dealing with. And when I see the golf course set up, this tee box the way it is, they're just going along with Dan Veskerna. They're going along with the sentiment of all of Buckeye. Get rid of that Yankee, get rid of that guy up there, that carpetbagger, that interloper, that fucking... He's nothing but trouble, okay? We've kept him out of the HOA. So far, he hasn't been able to tell this story to anybody. And we tell everybody, don't talk to him. We let everybody know he's a person that can't be dealt with. He's out of control, all right? I'm not out of control. I just don't suffer fools, okay? And I don't like, let's face it. Now I'm going to talk about those two slave chasers that they finally got off of the architectural committee. That architectural committee was so Jim Crow for the first 5 or 6 years here. You had two slave chasers in the form of Chuck and Wayne. These are slave chasers. Slave chasers. Hall monitors. You couldn't put a potted plant out on your sidewalk in front of your house. I know because Charlie Waters asked that of both of them in a meeting that day, the last meeting I ever went to, where they accused me of being out of line. I sit there and listen to Charlie Waters ask Wayne Blair and Chuck both, where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line where the freedom of a member to put something on his yard? And they go, there is no line. They have to put anything they do, they have to have permission. We want our position to be so strong that nobody does anything in this base housing, this military chicken shit housing. Nobody does it without Chuck's permission or my permission. Not even a potted plant. Anything you do to your house, anything you display, even though you're 55 years old, you had enough money to buy like a $350,000 house here, you can't be trusted to adorn your house with things that you think might make it look good. This is military chicken shit. I lived with it for 4 years in the Marine Corps. I know what it is. And I know people who practice it, what goons they are. Chuck and Wayne have ego problems. They're redneck. They're Jim Crow. I ain't nothing but a Yankee to them. Okay? They see me as, what do we want to call it? What the Masons call somebody that's not one of them. Profane. I'm considered profane by everybody in the town of Buckeye and the HOA, right? That's the way it is. That's what happens when you buy into patio golf. Now, I'm trying to get everybody out there. Do you see that MTT box there? I'm going to go in and process this film. I'm going to stop it now and just process it and get it off on YouTube. Because I am putting it on YouTube. I'm proud of what I say here. I'm proud of what I say. And I get sick of golfers that look up here like I shouldn't be here. Any of you golfers that are complaining that I'm here, why don't you go down about 150 yards down to the Warren's house? Their patio goes right up to the golf course. They sit out on their patio right up to the golf course, right up to the property line. That's what I'm doing. And if you're going to run your golf course and let people walk up to my property and give them entree, when you put those out-of-bounds signs on my property line, you're giving the golfer entree to walk onto my yard. You're feeling up my wife and fondling my children. I didn't buy out here to be targeted indirectly by golf. This is being targeted indirectly. This is a strategy. Don't worry. Don't worry. We're not going to aim. We can say we're not aiming at them. Look, we're not aiming at them. We're not doing this on purpose. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You all know that you got the worst golfers on the planet here in Buckeye. You all know that you got beginners. There are no operating permits for golfers. I can be a 250-pound gorilla that can press twice my weight and never hit a golf ball in my life, I can walk into any golf shop, spend $1,000 on a set of clubs, come out here and give you 25 bucks, and walk back to that 177-yard tee and bomb away. I sent Andy a video of this girl and her partner out here one day playing golf. And one of the things on the video was, she said is, I hit a house. Of course you did. You're playing Buckeye. You can't help but hit a house here. Another thing I want you to see in that video, or I'll send it again, but what was in that video, and I hope the board of directors and the golf club and all the other golfers here who live on the 7th hole, let me tell you how the golfers, these are gangbang drive-by. This is white ghetto. This is white ghetto where they take adjudicated drive-bys. This is shoot 'em up, shoot up the neighborhood, drive-by shootings by committee. The golf course committee, the board of committee, the committee that sets up the tees, the golf thing that sets up the tees, by committee and legally, they can assault me day in and day out. And what they're assaulting me with is mediocre golf. Don't tell me you don't know that people hit slices. They all hit slices. They hit bad shots. Bad shots are part of the game. And another thing, one last thing. If I have a guest, a child, or anybody out here, we're in earshot of everything that's said on that tee. Okay? You're not out in the middle of nowhere playing golf where you can get drunk and scream and holler and swear and F this and F that with every shot, but you can hear. But I just want everybody to understand, and by now, maybe you all understand, that on busy golf days where you sell 250 rounds, and it's on the weekend where they're all playing the long ball, they're not trying to protect their average, or they're not trying to protect their handicap. They're just out here for a day of golf, grip and rip golf. They look on the scorecard and they go, gee, we're not going to be responsible. And I'm sick of dealing with young punks who think I'm stupid. I'm dealing with a young punk in the form of a 30-some-year-old in the name of Andy, who knows day in, day out he's got the worst golfers, but when I get a broken window, he tells me, hey, it was an accident. They didn't mean it. They didn't mean it. They didn't mean it. I know they didn't mean it. They're ignorant. You're not. You're not. You're practicing being ignorant. This is called willful ignorance. Willful ignorance by the golf club. Go willful ignorance by the town of Buckeye. Willful ignorance on all things. Willful ignorance about our emergency ingress and egress. The thing about the drainage. You're storing water up on this hill because your lake isn't big enough to hold it. You lowered my house 3 inches so you'd have a place to store water. All right? This goes along with fascism. This is fascism. Fascism in Buckeye, Arizona. This is a circus. It might as well be Dixieland. It's Dixieland. It's the capital of the South. All right? Jim Crow. Reconstruction. Again, this is September 2nd, 2022. Thank you for listening.